Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No.
I don't like that.
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast, or IDYP 2010, as we go through all of the best movies of 2010. This week, we are watching How to Train Your Dragon, but before we get into that, I would just like to say, take the time to give us a quick rating on Spotify. It would really help our podcast grow, and it makes us feel good to see people responding and giving us feedback.
And actually liking our show.
Well, even if you don't like the show, any feedback is good. We'll take anything.
Give us 5s.
Well, I mean, Emily's a lot more threatening than I am. I'll take anything. But Emily, this movie, where can we watch it?
Well, thanks for the introduction, Ben. I'm Emily.
Shit.
It's okay.
No, it's not okay, because we also have someone who's really important with us that we need to introduce.
Yeah, more important than you and me.
Oh, way more important. I just feel like he's part of the show at this point by now. We've got Connor from No Highway Option here with us today. Hey, Connor.
Hey, I mean, part of the show, I guess, but I'd be like the cousin Oliver of the show.
Yeah, that seems about right. We're super happy to have Connor back with us and talk about How to Train Your Dragon, which you can watch through IMDb TV, which I did not know existed, as well as Amazon Prime. So knowing us, the three of us, I'm sure we're all going to encourage everyone to go watch this movie right this second.
Oh, absolutely.
Ben,
Really?
punch you in the face.
No, I love this movie. I can't hide that.
Okay,
just
good,
fucking around.
because
Yeah.
I was ready to drive over
I was completely
30 minutes
shocked.
to your house and kill him. So
Although you might be surprised about some of my takes on this movie, so we'll get to that.
okay,
But before we do, I've got a drink.
you do. What do you have?
So I felt kind of lazy today, but I thought, what's a drink that gives me dragon breath, like real fire breath? So I went with 130 proof whiskey.
Ugh.
Ooh.
So it is the strong stuff, and I got a big glass full, so I'm going to sit here and sip for the entire episode.
Perfect way to wake up on a Sunday morning.
That's right.
Connor, what dragon themed drink do you have?
So I was thinking of something that, looked a little dark, a little threatening at first, but then you find out it's very sweet, like Christopher Mintz-Plase's dragon, which is apparently called a Gronkel. So I'm calling this a Gronkel. It's Jack honey, lemonade, and unsweetened iced tea.
Oh,
nice.
Very tasty.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I also
very
have
good.
a little bit of a sweet drink because it's related to the heart of the movie. So I'm drinking a Dragon's Heart, which has aged rum and elderflower liqueur and aromatic bitters, some tequila, some ginger syrup lime, and I spent 20 minutes squeezing blood oranges to get my blood orange juice. So
Wow.
I feel really pretty and fancy, but it's also amazingly delicious.
And it makes you want to talk with an accent like Sean Connery.
What was I?
Dragonheart? You know,
Or just in general?
Dragonheart?
Oh,
You
that's
don't know
right.
that?
Oh, that's a
Come on.
movie. Okay. I've never
He
seen
was
it.
the dragon.
Yes. Well, Connor, thanks so much for joining us again. We love having you on. We'll keep bringing you on as often as we can because you are just such a great guest.
Thank you. I love being on.
But give us an update on No Highway Option.
So No Highway's been on a bit of a hiatus recently. Last thing we released was we watched every Spider-Man movie in preparation for No Way Home. And we hope to be coming back soon with, our standard episodes. We hope to have you guys on soon. And potentially, it might not be in March anymore, but soon we want to do a special Medea bracket where we watch every Medea movie and find out which one's the best. We've had that in the book since October, and we're just trying to find time to record it.
So I spent a summer in South Carolina. This is Medea related, so this is good. But I spent a summer in South Carolina, and I went and bought like 50 or 60 tickets for a group of us to go see Transformers 2 in theaters. So this is 2009.
Right.
And I'm talking to the worker there, and I go, like, how crowded is this going to be? How early do we have to show up? And she goes, it's going to be big, but it ain't going to be no Medea.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, people show up for Medea movies.
They really do, yeah.
Like, it's so strange that the newest one got punted to Netflix because, like, they're guaranteed moneymakers.
Was it punted, or did Netflix just want it that badly? Because if it's a moneymaker, it's going to pull in an audience.
Yeah, Netflix might have signed with Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Never seen one. Am I missing out?
You've never seen any?
Mm-mm.
We had one recommended to us for our Halloween show, so it was the Boo Medea Halloween. And both Luke and I looked at each other while watching it. We're like, this is fun. Why is everyone shit on these? Like, I'm laughing at the old people.
Okay, well, I might have to give it a try.
Well, Connor, I don't think you're going to sell us on Medea despite Emily's excitement there. But try to sell us on something that you have watched recently.
All right. I'm back and forth between like a recently released thing that'll make me sound smart and a throwback to a very dumb thing that I'm kind of obsessed with.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Give us both.
For the smart thing, it's nominated for Best Original Screenplay. It's in limited release. If you have a chance to see The Worst Person in the World, it's
You're looking at it.
It's a Norwegian romantic drama. It's heartbreaking. It's funny. It's so good. It's absolutely worth checking out if it's available. And the other thing is, you ever seen those 90s Brady Bunch movies?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's the Brady family still acts like they're in the 70s, but everywhere else is the 90s, and they're just like weirdly mean-spirited and meta. I watched the sequel recently just because, and they're so fun, and no one talks about them.
Is the sequel the one where they go to Hawaii?
Yeah, they go to Hawaii because there's a con man who says he's Carol Brady's original husband. And like he's trying to steal a treasure from them that's like an iconic prop from the show.
Oh, okay.
It's so bizarre. Like they reference Gilligan's Island exists in that world. Like I Dream of Jeannie exists. Like all of the sitcoms take place in one universe in these movies. It's so strange.
I might try it. I don't know. I think I'm more interested in the Norwegian drama than a throwback.
Understandably.
Is the first one the one with the love dynamic between Marcia and Greg? Or is that the second one?
No, that's the second one.
Okay.
I think the first one they just tested the waters, and then they were like, maybe the second one we can get weirdly incestuous for a little bit.
Yes. Well, perfect. Well, Connor, thanks again so much for being on with us. And
absolutely.
I know you've inspired me to go watch that Brady movie again, because I see it on HBO Max anytime I'm flipping through the comedies, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta take the time to watch this one again. So thanks for that reminder. But today we did watch How to Train Your Dragon, which is currently at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's pretty good.
Well deserved.
Yeah. It's also nominated for 2 Oscars, but did not win any. Its nominations were Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score. And it is currently number 213 on IMDb's top 250 list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, as in you expect it to be higher, or?
I don't know. I didn't expect the first one to be on the list of the 3. Because I think the franchise gets better and better, but we can get into that later.
Welcome to Dragon Training. Today, you will learn to fight dragons.
Pain. Love it.
Let's get started.
You should come by sometime to work out. You look like you work out. Oh! Yeah! I guess it's just you and me, huh?
No, just you.
Huh?
Focus, Hiccup!
Can I transfer to the class with the cool Vikings?
Well, this one was directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. They both directed Lilo and Stitch together.
Adorable.
And Chris was a story writer during the Disney Renaissance. He wrote on Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King, and they both were writers on Mulan.
So
Makes sense.
Pretty much all hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the dragon movie, and then they had the Lilo and Stitch weird buddies coming together. I'm thinking Mulan is dragon.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's why they made this one.
Right, what you know.
Well, what's weird is that this one is not a Disney one. Like, they jumped from Disney to DreamWorks for this movie, which is, I'm sure, not something that people do lightly, because Disney is the peak.
Yeah, I think after Shrek, it got to the point where they were more able to scoop up Disney animators, because Pixar was like Disney's main focus at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Starring in this movie is Jay Baruchel. He was part of the Apatow gang of comedic actors, starred on the TV show Undeclared, and was in 2007 movie Knocked Up and Tropic Thunder. And he plays the main character, Hiccup. Also in this movie is Gerard Butler, who had his first major role as Dracula in Dracula 2000, before appearing in the dragon movie Reign of Fire. Have you seen Dracula 2000?
No, I just am like, that is not what I expected. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
I want to see this now.
He was also in Phantom of the Opera and 300, which is one we did in 2007, before turning to rom-coms just before this by starring in P.S. I Love You and The Ugly Truth, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I just remember the poster of him holding a heart and being like, I'm like 12, this is not for me.
Nope.
I don't mean to hurt Rashawn's feelings, but Katherine Heigl's trash, and she's trash in that movie. So, sorry, Rashawn. I know you love her, but
I don't really think he loves her. I think he's like okay with most. Anyway.
Also is in this movie is America Ferrera, who is one of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And she also starred as Ugly Betty in the show of the same name. Did you guys ever watch Ugly Betty?
I watched a little bit of it, I think, but more the previews than anything. So I knew what it was about. Was it good?
What do you mean more the previews? Like you saw the commercials?
Sure, yeah, commercials. Shit, I don't remember. I'm not drunk, I promise. I'm just out of it.
I think my mom watched it and I would just walk downstairs and see a bit of it and be like, this is in an office building. I'm bored.
Yep.
She's in the Superstore, which came out after this, which is very fun.
I really enjoy Superstore. And this might be the last America Ferrera movie we do, so let's call out Superstore right now. Superstore is really good. Like it filled that Office Parks and Rec void that was left when all those shows went off the air.
And it was relatable, because like who hasn't worked in retail at one point in their lives?
Mm-hmm. Last person I want to call out is Craig Ferguson, who was at this time most well known for starring in The Drew Carey Show in the late 90s, before taking over the Late Late Show desk from 2005 to 2014. And then he quit and we got stuck with James Corden.
I'm very confused of what you're bringing up. Who is this?
Craig Ferguson?
He played the guy with the interchangeable hand.
Oh, okay. Got it. I was like, who are you talking about? There's no other characters in this that you need to call out.
I mean, there's a lot of other characters I could call out. You've also got TJ Miller and Jonah Hill and Christopher Mintz-Plasse in this movie. Like, they're Kristen Wiig. There's a ton.
Right.
And Kristen Wiig's the only one of that group who's just not doing her own voice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She does something completely different, which made me not realize it was her, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie I've seen 1,000 times, and so I wasn't able to come up with a synopsis of what I think the movie is about, because this movie rocks. So I'm just going to read the DVD cover, because, you know, that's what Ben puts on the sheet, and I'm just going to read it. Here we go. Hiccup is a young Viking who defies tradition when he befriends one of the deadliest foes, a ferocious dragon he calls Toothless. Together, the unlikely heroes must fight against all odds to save both of their worlds. So we all love this movie, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Good. Do you have any memories of the first time you ever saw it?
So this is a movie I've only seen once.
Oh, what?
This was the second time I'd seen it, but before that, the last time I saw it was in 2010 when it came out. And I've only seen How to Train Your Dragon 2 once, and I've never seen the third one. So this is not a series that I'm super familiar with.
But you're like super into Madagascar.
I freaking love Madagascar. Yeah. I mean,
right. So it like makes no sense to me that this isn't like a series you love or like watch a ton.
Sure it does. Madagascar is a completely different type of comedy and style of film. Like, this is much more of an action animated movie, whereas Madagascar is much more like a character comedy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Toothless does never do the Afro Circus dance, sadly.
If only.
I definitely saw this in theaters when it first came out. I think it was because it was like the big 3D boom. We were like, oh, we have to go see it. We have to see how the flying is. And then it would just be something that if it was on TV, I'd just stop what I was doing and be like, I need to watch it till the end.
Right. I remember watching it in theaters in Duluth and specifically going with all my girlfriends. We loved any sort of animated movies and, you know, high school. It just seemed like the thing to do because we're all obsessed with dragons. But I distinctly remember going and buying this movie as soon as it came out on DVD. Like, I immediately went and bought this movie. And I think I've talked on this show before how my younger sister would watch movies over and over and over again, and it would drive me nuts. Like, that's why I hate pirates now. But this movie she would play 1,000 times over, and I loved it. I didn't care if she put it on. If she put it on, I would sit in the room and I would just enjoy everything. So I'm very excited that we're doing this movie. I've already watched it 3 times this week.
You enjoy everything in this movie?
Pretty much.
3 times in a week. Wow.
Yeah. I love this movie.
I mean, it's no Hook.
Hook has a lot of problems, Ben, but sure.
Whoa.
I mean, it's got a hook in it.
The one thing that I do want to specifically call out in this movie, because I think it sets the bar really high for other animated movies, is the animation itself. I do think that this movie is gorgeous from beginning to end. Every frame is just a beautiful thing to look at. And that's not always the case with animation movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This one is really focused on making the landscapes look beautiful, the settings, the characters, and mixing, you know, soft, slow scenes very well with the really fast action scenes.
Right. And I think DreamWorks in general, prior to this, didn't have that sort of style where things weren't obnoxiously beautiful, except for maybe Prince of Egypt and The Road to El Dorado. There were like really beautiful spots, but there was more like it was beautiful, but like more funky style, if that makes sense. I'm thinking of Gloria the Hippo, or I'm thinking Kung Fu Panda. Actually, Kung Fu Panda has a lot of beautiful
Kung Fu Panda is
scenes.
beautiful. That was what I was going to say. Yeah.
This definitely, and it started more in the 2010s of animation, like combining cartooniness and realism.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the early CG movies are like, look at how realistic we can make this human. Robert Zemeckis Beowulf, look at his pores. But with these, and like it kept going, it went with, even though the movie's not great, The Good Dinosaur, it's like we have these realistic textured backgrounds. It's gonna look like you're there, but also these characters can't exist. Like, we designed them so that they're timeless and like a child could draw them or whatever.
Right. I'm even thinking Tangled comes out this year, right? 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big eyes of the princesses and the characters in those, they make them cartoony, like you said, but it's still a gorgeous movie, similar to this.
But then you have another 2010 movie like Despicable Me, which goes in the opposite direction, where I think a lot of Despicable Me is it's not ugly, but it's just not eye-popping. It just seems kind of drab, and all the designs are a little blocky and kind of funky looking.
Yeah, well, because Illumination, the studio that does those movies, they do the Sing movies and all that, their whole mantra is like, let's make the cheapest, lowest common denominator movie we can. Like, they're never animating something to be like eye-popping. It's just, we're going to slap something up there. They're going to like it. Let's move on.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit in the past when we talked about B-movie. Oh God, I can't believe I'm bringing this up. It's such a bad movie, right? But how DreamWorks kind of sparked the revolution in animation to have the opportunity to get away from just Disney as the best. And I mean, honestly, it's still pretty much the best at this point. But there are really good off Disney animations that are amazing, right? And so I'm just curious, like this one, I think stands out above most of the others. Maybe Kung Fu Panda, I forgot about it. But Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon, the franchises, are so well done. I haven't seen any other Kung Fu Panda movies, so please correct me. I think these franchises are so well done, and it surprises me that there isn't like something else that DreamWorks has put out there that I have enjoyed.
That's like been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know we watched it, and as soon as it ended, I was like, because Kung Fu Panda, like, they're good, but the third one I didn't really vibe with. So, like, I think there are two perfect animation franchises, and they're How to Train Your Dragon and Toy Story.
Okay.
Like, everything, like Shrek, as much as everyone loves Shrek and memes on Shrek, the third and fourth are bad. But, like, every How to Train Your Dragon, every Toy Story are masterworks, and, like, even if you say, oh, Toy Story 3 is the worst one, it's still saying it's a great film. It's just, like, doesn't rise to the occasion.
Anyone who says Toy Story 3 is the worst one hasn't seen Toy Story 4.
I've seen it so many times, and I cry every time.
So, Ben, you've seen a lot more kids' movies than I have when it comes to like more recent years. Do you think DreamWorks has the potential to write a story like this again, or are they too far gone in their Boss Baby and other shit that I have no interest in seeing?
I mean, they're clearly trying to do what Pixar's not, which is they're trying to make movies for kids. And I think other than How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda, and even Kung Fu Panda a little bit is for children, but I think DreamWorks is much more focused on how can I make movies for children. And Pixar is much more movies where how can I make a movie that anyone from 9 to 99 can see? So I think there's a place for both of them within the larger setting of moviedom.
That makes sense. And they still can make a ton of money off of making movies for kids.
Oh, and they are.
Right.
They absolutely do. Like the Trolls series is huge. Croods is huge. You got Boss Baby. They found their niche and they're going to keep hammering it home. And every once in a while, they'll put out a movie that I really enjoy also, like Mr. Peabody and Sherman. I really like that movie, even though it's for children. But it's fun.
Yeah, fun can be for any age, though.
I guess I'm just so disappointed because I felt like this movie franchise set the bar for where DreamWorks was going, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it was for a while, and then in the late 2010s, they had a big executive shakeup when they got purchased by Universal.
Okay.
And so a lot of stuff that they had in development that seemed it would have been a little more, not adult focused, but like appealing to all generations, got cut because it was too expensive or too weird.
It looks like DreamWorks has kind of bounced around all over the place between Paramount for a while and then 20th Century Fox in the mid 2010s, and then now it's back to Universal. So I wonder if that change in leadership also accompanies a change in vision for the studio.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
I think it definitely did a little bit, because you can see like the changes from the beginning of it, where it was very much like adult humor, snarky characters, we hate Disney, and then into what it is now, which is just let's make it colorful and let's have a good time and see what happens.
Yeah, and the one thing about this movie series is I think this one, especially when I think about anime movies, would be really hard to do live action. Like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, if they wanted to do this live action, this would be a fucking $400 million movie that's all CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way to do it. And I like when movies that really have no other avenue to go but animation do it this way, because I think animation, you almost, not that you need to have a reason to make the movie animated, but in my eyes, like a movie like Despicable Me, why can't you just make that a live action movie? Like Tangled, why isn't that just live action? Whereas like this one clearly has a reason why it's not live action.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, yeah.
You had me confused on Despicable Me because I feel like that just the angles of everything and the minions. I'm like, I don't want to see that live action ever.
You don't want to see hyper-realistic
image.
CG minions.
Nope, I am okay. But I understand what you mean about the story, because with this, you have so many flights with dragons and the way things are moving, it doesn't make sense to have this movie be live action, quote unquote. It would literally still be animated. But like looking at how other dragon movies have done it, I can't really think about movies that have dragons in them as dragon movies. But I don't know. I haven't seen, is it Raya and the Last Dragon? I've never seen that one. I did watch the most recent movie on Netflix that was like Wish Dragon or something, and it was fine. But I think you're right. A lot of them, they probably could have been live action. You know, there are moments in a lot of live action movies that have dragons, and the dragons obviously are CGI, and it works. I know that the Hobbits franchise isn't like beloved, but I do love a lot of parts in it, and Smaug is one of them, right? Harry Potter 4, you have the dragons in there. I shouldn't really talk about Beowulf because it's not actually live action, but it basically could have been, and the dragon is CGI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Connor, you were on for Enchanted. There was a dragon.
Yeah.
You know, there are all these movies that have CGI dragons, and it works, and it can be live action.
I think the biggest difference with this between a lot of those live action movies is a lot of those dragons are set dressings or final showdowns.
Right.
And this is like the dragons are the most important thing in it.
Right.
And also a lot of these dragon designs, I feel like if you did them in live action, like realistic CGI, you wouldn't be able to like believe that they could be trained. Like they'd probably be scary.
Yeah, I could see that.
I feel like the closest thing to a live action How to Train Your Dragon we have is Avatar. And
yeah,
like that movie's super expensive to make and takes 12 years for Cameron to pop one out, and it's a CGI fest. So
right.
There are limitations of live action and reasons to do this in animation. And I guess one question I have is like with CGI so rapidly improving, like every year it seems like we're blown away by some new CGI technique that makes things look even more realistic. Like, what is the future of animation? Like, what type of stories are we going to see be animated when live action can do all these things that animated couldn't until now?
I don't have an answer for you, but I totally get where you're coming from. When Shang-Chi came out earlier this, or I guess last year now, when Shang-Chi came out and they have that dragon sequence, fucking amazing. That
really
was
cool.
I thought it was super cool how they designed it, and I felt immersed into it. But again, short amount of time, you know, and costs a lot of money, I'm assuming. So I don't really have an answer, but I'm excited to see where it goes. But Connor, I think you were onto something with how the dragons probably would have looked scary, because these dragons were cute, but still had some intensity and fear among them.
Yeah, like a wild animal that like before it's domesticated. For the future of animation, I think Pixar is on the wavelength with story-wise for the future of animation. So like internal stories that definitely have at least one or two elements where it's like this would look bad in CG or in live action, or this wouldn't work in live action. So like Inside Out, Soul, even Luca, even though that was like a very simple, could be live action story, just the amount of underwater stuff. But for animation itself, I think looking towards Sony Pictures Animation with their Into the Spider-Verse and the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Oh, right.
Their combination of different animation styles and the mixed media to really give their characters a lot more emotion and expression that hasn't really been shown off in these movies that were trying to be more realistic. I think that's what we're heading towards a lot more of.
Do you think we've seen the last of the giant animation franchises that come out like this? Like, is it going to be a lot more? I understand like Spider-Verse is going to be like a serialized thing where you've got, you know, many comics to pull inspiration from. And I'm sure there's going to be a Mitchells versus the Machines too. But like when I think of How to Train Your Dragon 2, there wasn't really a source material for this, was there? Or is this based on a children's book?
This is based on a book.
Okay. But like stealing ideas from children's books like they did with this one, or Shrek, Like, I just don't see how building franchises for things like this is going to be the future, where it's going to be like, how can we create really creative, interesting stories on the cheap to test things out? Like, we're going to throw a lot of our most creative, unique properties towards animation to kind of run with, rather than risking doing a live action version of it.
Yeah, there hasn't really been a lot in the past couple of years that's been like something that's definitely an animated franchise starter besides like the Spider-Verse that you mentioned. And I mean, the last times that DreamWorks has tried to do franchises out of children's books, they did the Captain Underpants movie, which bombed, which it sucks that it bombed because it was great as a fan of those books. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more one-offs. And then if they make money, then it's going to become the franchise.
Yeah.
Similar to like how Frozen was just, we're doing a classic throwback. Oh, it made $4 billion or whatever it was. Theme park ride, sequel, TV series, go, go, go.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the big executives that are in charge of all of the things in the world are probably never going to uplift a franchise to be something like this ever again, because it just costs too much money, unless you're right, Connor, unless something is that big of a hit. And then they make that one-off into a series and force it to work.
I mean, with the amount of animation that's just going straight to streaming, now you can't even tell how much money it's actually making.
I mean, is this the most unlikely animation franchise out there? Because I watched this movie and it feels so well bookended with the narration at the beginning and the narration at the end. Like, this feels like it was built to be one movie. And then DreamWorks was like, oh my God, like, look at the response to this. Look at what we ended up having. Let's roll out more. Whereas I feel like Boss Baby is an idea that was built to, we're going to be able to do 100 of these if we want to.
Well, that's because, as you were saying earlier, they designed that to be for children. And we know children love seeing the same thing over and over and over again forever and ever and ever. Right, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so that makes sense, especially if DreamWorks is going the children's movie route. But How to Train Your Dragon is so different. It's completely designed to be a one-off. I don't think they meant it to continue. But looking at some interviews and hearing what a lot of the filmmakers and sound editors and different people say about this movie, they put a lot of heart into it and they put a lot of love into it. And so I'm glad these people got rewarded for their work to have such a phenomenal franchise. Even though I'm like Ben, I haven't seen the third one because I was a little scared to. And so now I'm very excited since Connor says it's great. So
I saw it in 3D just on a whim because I was like, I think I like these first two. It's been a while. And I was sobbing in the theater.
Yeah.
I loved it. But yeah, I think as like a narrative story, it definitely bookended and was designed to be a one-off. But the world of the dragons, the island of Berk, which is my last name, which is perfect that I'm on this episode. I think they like saw the world and saw franchise potential immediately, but not so immediately that like the gap between the first and the second one was like 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 4 years in between each one, 4 or 5.
Yep.
So like that kind of shows you that they didn't immediately go into it until they saw how the first one did. But like, because it wasn't like 10 years, it wasn't something that they went, maybe we can do this, you know?
Is this the closest DreamWorks gets to making a Pixar movie?
Dear God, I hope not. I have so much want for DreamWorks to do better. I have no interest in seeing all these children's movies that they're pushed out. I'm sorry. Trolls, Boss Baby, Ben, Peabody, and Sherman. It's just not something that I want to see, even though I do love children's shows. You know, I love my Steven Universe. I love Gravity Falls. I love a lot of these shows, but that's because they usually have some element of for all, not just children, right? And so I just want more emotional and beautifully animated things. I don't want this fluff and crap for children. And I know that someday I'll have kids and my kids will probably drag me to see that shit. but why can't it be for all?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to make things that are nice? Just want things to be nice.
Yeah, this might be, I don't know, because maybe it's like this is the closest to DreamWorks making a Pixar movie as the Cars franchise is the closest Pixar has come to making a DreamWorks movie.
That's an amazing analogy.
They could trade off.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of time talking animation as a whole. We'll dive a little more deep into this movie, but first I wrote a letter and I'd like to, send this out to someone involved in this movie because they need to hear it.
Really?
Dear accent coordinator, what did you do all day? I come from a land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs flow, the land of the Vikings where none of us talk like that, okay? Did it bother me that you gave the Vikings a Scottish accent? You betcha it did. Yet that's not even the worst accent atrocity in this movie. If you're going to commit to Scottish accents, then every fucking character on that island should have one, you know? Why does Hiccup have no accent at all? Oofta, truly baffling. Well, I think I've torn into you enough. I'm sorry. Please enjoy this hot dish that I sent along with the letter. It's got tater tots.
Oh, I love that you started getting Irish a little bit when you tried to mimic a Minnesotan accent. Oh, you're beautiful, Ben.
That's because I've got Irish in me, but no Scandinavian.
But yeah, every adult in this is Scottish.
Right. And none of the children, except for Kristen Wiig's character, has a little bit of a Scottish accent.
A tiny bit. But yeah, all of the kids sound like they came from an NBC comedy upfront. Which, like, I don't know. I sound different. I sound a little different from my dad, but like, he's not doing this and then I'm walking around like talking like it's so bizarre.
Yeah. I had to steal a little bit from my weird there to come up with a letter today, but because that was the weirdest thing for me was Hiccups having no accent compared to his dad.
Okay, well, I think it worked, but sure, whatever.
And his mom's Scottish too.
They're all all the accents on the island are Scottish.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even make sense because Vikings are Scandinavian.
Do you want to start with the weird, Ben? Do you want to start with the weird?
No, let's get to the good. Because I know Emily's been like itching to talk about all of the things she loves about this movie. So, Emily,
I could talk about this movie for hours.
The good. Let's start at minute 1.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, here we go. Emily, your number one thing, who won this movie?
All right. My number one thing is actually Randy Thom. I believe that's how you say his name. He was the sound designer for the Dragons. And holy shit, he killed it. Not only did he use some of his own noises and vocal ability, but he came up with the most adorable and believable dragon noises that were specified for the kind of dragon, which was so cool because you see dinosaur movies, like, no offense, Jurassic Park and World franchises. Many of the dinosaurs all sound the same. But they also have like real pet sort of interactions and sounds. The way that like my dog whines or has a certain sound that he uses when he plays. But the way the dragons would sigh and breathe and lick their chops and have purring noises. It was a mix of elephant and Randy using his vocal expertise and tigers and all sorts of other really cool animal sounds. So sound design was just spectacular.
Connor, who's your winner of this movie?
I mean, besides like the characters, I think my favorite part of this movie is a small detail that I never thought about. I love how when they show the dragons breathing fire, they aren't just like exhaling fire. You see like they form gas in their mouth and there's a light and then it fires out.
Oh,
that's
so
just
cool.
That's something you don't think about. That's something that like they didn't need to put in. And like the two-headed dragon where the one is all gas and the other is all lighter. Like it's insanely well thought out. It's fun to look at. It gives like little moments of tension when you see they're forming the gas in their mouths. Just all of the thought that was put into the dragons for this movie is top notch.
Man, you guys got some good picks today. I'm going to have to up my game. I'm going to go with the lighting animation artists because the animation in this movie is gorgeous, but anytime it's a realistic lighting situation, like a firelight or the inside of a room at night, the lighting is just so perfect and the shadows are so well done. And it just makes it feel so much warmer of a movie to have those details so well done. And it makes the movie just so many notches higher than it would be if it was just a flat look to it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely agree.
Every texture in this movie just pops.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, I will say, DreamWorks has their cloud game. It's very strong. Just the lighting of how they do clouds and everything, too.
I mean, it's in their logo. They have to.
Yeah, they've had all that
I
practice
know, right?
before every
but, like,
movie.
when I saw Shrek for the first time and they had, like, different moments with clouds, I just was like, wow, this is so cool. And they just kill the cloud game. I think that's their best attribute to animation.
Especially during the third act battle where the light behind the clouds is like sparking and you see the dragon through the clouds. Oh, that's such a cool shot.
Yes.
Absolutely gorgeous.
That was definitely one of my good. Other amazing things. I'm assuming we all loved the design of Toothless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He acts like a little cat.
He acts like so many animals. He specifically reminds me of my sister's dog, Dooney. Just kind of a little bit derpy sometimes, but still can be extremely sleek and strong, and I think it's part of it. They designed him after a Black Panther just to have kind of that impressive feel, but they made his eyes and his ears bigger to have the ability to be more expressive and relatable to communicate with Hiccup, which I think is just so sweet and endearing because I see that all the time with my dog and other animals. And so it's just, he was so real. I just wanted to give him a big old hug. He was so perfect. Just a perfect little boy.
Yeah, there's a lot of great character behind the dragon and the faces he makes and the way that he interacts. It had a little bit of a Wall-E feel to it, where it's like this machine is so expressive in its movements and its noises, and this dragon kind of exemplified that as well.
Right.
Yeah. Except the dragon doesn't sing Hello Dolly, sadly.
And that's why this is only 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Be the best movie of all time, if only.
Connor, you mentioned that I was going to start at minute 1. Can I actually start at minute 1? Because I think, Ben, you alluded to it a little bit, that this movie is perfectly bookended. The intro is by far one of my favorite intros to an animated movie. I know everyone loves Up, and there are so many other Pixar movies that have this heart-wrenching, gorgeous, amazing thing happen. But this intro, I felt, was a perfect 7 minutes of exposition and action and comedy. We got to know the characters immediately through Hiccup's narration. We got to know his character within the first 2 minutes. We knew exactly who he was. We knew exactly the tone. It establishes the tone immediately, like I said, with the little bits of comedy here and there, but also how these Vikings are strong and they are fighting. We see the world right away. And then right at the end of that 7 minutes, Hiccup says, "Sorry, Dad," to Stoic. And everything suddenly makes way more sense about this is the primary conflict. It's between his dad and him. And I just love that so much because it is exciting and fun and believable. I love it.
When it comes to narration, we talk a lot about how we want, show, don't tell. And I feel like this beginning is the perfect example of a blending of both, where you have the show for the adults and the tell for the children. The children are going to latch onto all the themes and stuff because of the narration, because they're being told explicitly what happens. But as adults, you can watch it and you can gather all that same information. If you had it on mute, you would be able to get the same stuff as the narration gives you.
The way the telling is, it's so quick and casual,
right?
That it's not like the opening of a storybook, and it's not saying well, the dragons have been here since 459 BC, and they've eaten everything, and it's just they're pests, and then you see them in action, and you can, even as a kid, connect pest bad, dragon bad. Got it.
Right. And I love a couple of details in this intro. Like, for example, when the fire explosion happens and Astrid is swinging her bucket, you know, you get that emotional feel that Hiccup has to Astrid immediately. There's a part where one of the Vikings says good morning to Hiccup after he just like makes a growling, terrifying yell. And it establishes so much fun right then and there. But like you said, Connor, in such a quick moment that we suddenly are moving on to the next thing. And so you just get this wonderful feeling of how this movie is going to be set up and enjoyable for the rest of the time.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up the score yet, Emily.
Okay. Well,
I was just thinking about the score.
I don't want to like take over everything, but the score in this movie makes me cry all the time.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And I know that The Social Network was a really wonderfully done score, but how did this not win Best Score?
Because it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's just, it's so good. It's beautiful and emotion invoking. And it has this bombastic brass and this beautiful percussion parts, but then bringing in the underlying Scottish and Irish sounds. And I know that that might be controversial because they're Vikings, but it was still amazing. The romantic strings and everything about it feels triumphant and melancholy, but perfect for this animation. I cry anytime I listen to this, and I listen to this score a lot.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. At the beginning, Ben saying that it lost best original score at the Oscars, I was outraged for a hot second. I was like, "What did it lose to? Oh my god! Oh, it's a Social Network. Okay,
yeah, right." Well, talking about the score leads perfectly into my bad, but I don't want to. I feel like there's more good that Emily wants to keep talking about.
There is. Keep going. My gosh, there's so many things. So the humor in this movie, you talked about how it was obnoxious that the kids didn't have an accent. I just don't know. I thought it was so endearing to have Hiccup be so different from his dad. And maybe the rest of the kids, it probably could have been better. But Hiccup is so different. But he was able to drop these one-liners or this humor of his kind of sarcastic, witty responses that I felt was inspired by the actor. I don't know Jay Baruchel very well in media. I don't really see him very often. But when I have seen him in things, I felt like he really was Hiccup. And so when he said things like, this conversation is feeling very one-sided, and how he delivered it was so funny, and you just gestured to all of me, or thanks for nothing, you useless reptile. They were so funny, and I loved them. And so I just, so good. So good and fun.
Thanks for nothing, you useless reptile is my least favorite line reading in the entire movie.
I hate you.
Really?
I don't like the way he delivered that line. But also, if you're going to have your main character be so different from the dad character, you're already doing it visually by making one like a giant of a man and the other one small. Like, I don't know. There should have been some sort of connecting link to make me believe that they're actually related to each other.
Their hair is kind of similar.
They both have brown
similar,
hair.
but like, yeah, sort of.
Whatever. I don't care. Can we talk just briefly about favorite scenes? Because I think there were some amazing scenes.
Yeah, I feel like it's like everyone's go-to favorite scene of the first real big flying sequence.
I know.
Where he falls out and gets captured and swoops over the ocean. It's just first one of the best uses of 3D I've ever seen.
Yes.
Seeing it in the theater, and it's just it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
My favorite scene is the one where you see Hiccup and Toothless bonding, and Toothless draws like the little picture of him in the sand, and then they get close to touching each other. That's just, I don't know, it really hammers home the connection that they're forming.
Right. And I found out that the hesitation in the animation of Toothless was an accident, but they liked it so much they kept it in.
Love when that happens.
I know, right? It's just so sweet and wonderful. I had so many things that I loved about this movie when it came to just the scenes. And so obviously those two were some of my favorites. And Ben, you talked about how the really large monster-y dragon, when you see the shadow of it in the clouds, that's one of my favorite scenes. And I also want to call out just the cinematography in this movie to make it feel more actiony and just how things were cut. I didn't know this, but they actually brought in Roger Deakins to consult on the cinematography.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so when I found out that, I was like, okay, everything makes sense now. There are some shots where there are moments where I can just see how things are framed. Like, I'm specifically thinking of the ending after the giant dragon has like fallen and there's fire everywhere, and Toothless comes down to try to catch Hiccup. That's one of my favorite shots. Or when Stoic comes to see Toothless and you just see the big empty space and the gray and the way the lighting is. There are just some beautiful, beautiful scenes in this movie. And I think that it must have something to do with Roger Deakins and either inspiration from him or him consulting. Either way, I'm so happy that it happened.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the ending, I love how this movie and this franchise has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Toothless's back fin gets sliced off, like other movies, it could have been so easy to just be like, they're dragons, they're like starfish, their tail will grow back.
Right.
Hiccup loses a leg, and like that's the rest of the franchise. He's got his prosthetic. Like there's consequences to this, and that's something you don't often see in like animated movies.
Right. And I love that. The only thing you see is like Anna has a gray streak in her hair. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, Ben, we can go to the bed now.
Okay, we talked about the score, and I love the score, but I do think the score does a lot of the emotional heavy lifting for this movie, because I didn't feel like this movie had a truly great emotional scene in it that really would have pushed it over the top and gotten it that extra 1% that it needed on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, the closest thing is like the "you gestured to all of me" part at the end, which just didn't do it for me. I don't know, maybe I'm dead inside, but I didn't think that this movie had a standout emotional scene that really tugged at me.
No, Stoic realizing that his son is alive is some of the most emotional shit out there. And him thanking Toothless. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And even the scene briefly after Stoic saves Toothless, he in the water, and then Toothless brings him up and plops him down. It builds to this Hiccup's about to leave, and there's just this moment of quiet for Stoic to realize he's wrong and acknowledge to his son that he's sorry. Oh my God, just fucking kill me now.
That part
so
was
much
misplaced.
That does work well, but it would have worked a little better if there was more space between Stoic being like, "You're not my son, I can't deal with you," because they happen very close together.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like if there was just like a little more space in between them, that would have hit a little bit harder.
I agree.
Don't care.
I'm not saying
perfect.
it's bad, but
I love it.
I mean, it's hard to pick a bad for a movie that's 99% and is one of the best looking animated movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have to nitpick a little bit. My other nitpick is, I love that there's lots of different kind of dragons. I hate that all the different kinds of dragons match perfectly to his friend group.
That's kind of fun, though, I thought.
I mean, it's a little too fun. It's a little too clever. Like, come on. The fat one rides the fat one. The angry one rides the angry one. I don't know.
It's the natural
the
evolution of
twins.
that. Yeah. It's a evolution of that 101 Dalmatians line where it's like, look, all of the dogs and their owners look exactly the same.
Oh shit, I forgot something from the good. And because you talked a little bit about the dragon types, can I go back to it?
Yep.
Sorry, Beth. So the book, the actual like dragon, the kinds of dragons books, the animation in that was so interesting, and just the different kinds of dragons and the design of how they wrote it. There were these moments where the movement on the page was just really interesting. Like there was a dragon that could cut through trees with its wings. How fucking cool is that? And the way they drew it, I thought it was such a beautiful addition to have this contrast to the animation that we were seeing. And so I just forgot about how amazing that was and I had to bring it up.
Yeah, they put a lot of thought into this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did. Which is actually very different from the book. I've never read it, but reading all about the author, she was all for them changing it. Originally, their first screenplay, they wanted it to stay very dedicated to the book. But then the rewrite, they completely changed a lot of aspects of it. They made Toothless a larger dragon so that Hiccup could ride him and build a little bit more of a relationship between them. And I think that the author is just so happy with what they did. And I probably will never read the book, but I've heard that both are pretty great.
Okay, let's get back to the bad, please.
I'm sorry. What's the other bad?
I mean, this is kind of bad in hindsight, but maybe it's after watching the sequels to this. Kid Hiccup he doesn't look great. Like, Kid Hiccup's design has aged weirdly. Maybe it was the TV I was watching it on. I don't know what it was, but there were a few shots of him where I was like, he looks like he's straight out of Jimmy Neutron in this shot. And it just made me go like, ugh. And like, that's definitely a nitpick because I've seen 2 of the movies multiple times. Like, I'm more used to adult Hiccup with like his beard and looking more mature, sounding the same, which is strange. But
do you have a bad, Emily?
I don't. I literally have nothing. I love it. Shut up if you didn't. Those are my notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's honestly because like the things that you're nitpicking, to me, that's more weird stuff. Things that take you out of the movie a little bit. And so, yeah, sure, you could align it to be bad, but nothing was super bad to me.
That's, yeah, like the nitpicks and the small stuff is very much just like, I'm looking for something to not like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's hard with this movie and the franchise as a whole.
Right. There's literally nothing I don't like.
I have a weird that's separate from bad. And it's, Connor maybe kind of explained it away, but I don't think he fully did. Why does the dragon explode at the end? Like, I don't understand the physics of that.
I think it's because because Toothless little fireball thing that like flies really far, I think he shot it into gas lungs, I guess could be what the part of the body is.
So Toothless has exploding abilities, right? We've seen that where he shot some fire explosion stuff at what was it, like a trebuchet or a catapult or something in the beginning of the movie, and it explodes. It doesn't just crumble, it literally has a fireworks sort of feeling to it. And so I think it's partly that. But also, you're right, Connor, you talked about how the dragons kind of like start the gas up first. And so that kind of ignited everything.
Didn't it explode when he hit the rocks, though?
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know.
The dragon explodes like it's a crash.
Yeah,
It's a good point.
No, it's not.
He's a fantasy beast.
It's not a good point. I'm picking at straws here because I love this movie so much.
Yeah,
oh, no, I have some.
Okay.
I have some weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of my weird is the water animation with Toothless trying to grab the fish. Just looks weird because it looks dated. And anything else underwater in this movie, which happens later with Stoic and Hiccup and Toothless trapped under the water, looks way better. Don't know why, but it just looks bad.
My one weird is literally one line. And it happens at the beginning as Hiccup is doing the narration. The entire time he's doing like this omnipotent narration, like he's just out there telling the thing. But for one moment, he looks at the camera and he breaks the fourth wall and says dragons, and then never breaks the fourth wall again. And it feels like a trailer moment, which like I think it was, but it feels out of place in the world of the movie. That like we don't see him talking to anybody in the world of the scene. He literally just runs up to the door, slams it shut, and goes, "Dragons," to nobody, and then runs away. Very strange. Like, I don't know why that stood out for me, but this time it did.
Yeah. I can understand that, but also as you said it, I was thinking, oh, I'm opening the door. Ah, dragons, close the door. I can see myself saying something like that. So I get it, but also now that I'm thinking about it, I could defend that.
Yeah.
Well, let's put a cork in this thing, and we're going to start with Connor. Connor, give us your final thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon.
I mean, it's a gorgeous movie about an unlikely friendship. What would you expect from the directors behind Lilo and Stitch? The animation is beautiful, and the franchise just improves from here as it goes on. So it's an incredible jumping off point, and honestly, it should have won Best Animated Feature in 2010.
Over Toy Story 3?
Yeah. As much as I love Toy Story 3, like this, watching it this time, that one just clicks better. This one just clicks better for me. Toy Story 3 feels a little repetitive with Toy Story 2. It just works.
Okay.
This is not me trying to sneak into the Toy Story 3 episode, by the way. I'm realizing how this could sound. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I think this is a great movie. Not just an animated movie, but just an overall great movie. Like, this will stand up against a lot of the ones that come out this year because it's just a great story that's given a lot of care. And I mean, when you talk about bringing in Roger Deakins, like, if you're going to bring in somebody, bring in the master. And this movie looks great, sounds great, didn't quite hit me as much as I wanted it to emotionally, but I do love this movie and will continue to watch it and may even check out number 3 after hearing that it only gets better from here.
Do you want to watch it for the first time with me?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
It's totally worth it. And
we might be crying a lot.
It has some of the best sand animation I've ever seen.
Really?
Which like is a weird thing to point out, but I remember being in the theater, they drew something in the sand and I saw it alone, so I like was tempted to turn to the people next to me and be like, "That looks live action. Do you see that? Oh my god."
I love this movie. There is no way that anyone could try to say something bad about it, obviously. Ben, I'm sorry. I'm going to defend this movie to my grave. This is such an Emily and her sister's movie. We watch it together all the time. We love this franchise and this series. And now I'm getting emotional because I love it so much. But I think it was something special that I really hope DreamWorks revisits someday. Not the franchise, but something else to bring us back to this. And I'm going to agree with Connor. Like, I love Toy Story 3, but I think this movie deserved to win Best Animated Feature.
Now, do you think this is your favorite movie you've covered for the show so far?
Of 2010?
Or just in general?
Oh, including 2007? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to spoil my list, but it is not number 1 on my combination list or this year's list thus far.
Really? But you didn't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah, there's another movie that beat this one out for Best Original Score that I think I like a little bit more.
Shut up. I hate you.
Yep.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get the idea?
I just try to think creatively.
Are we ready for some Twits Light?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 1. We had a really cute, meet-cute story with Toothless and Hiccup. I want to know what your meet-cute story is with your dragon, because obviously you both are going to have a dragon if you were in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's within this world? I was about to launch into the story about the first time I became acquainted with my penis and really trained my dragon.
And I'm sure that's a very cute story.
it's a meet cute.
Putting the meat in meet cute.
Yeah,
oh, no. No.
Now my mind's just cycling on dick jokes and I have to get that out.
I think mine is we're both sitting at the Starbucks on Burke, and we're both waiting for our lattes, and the waitress yells out Ben, and me and the dragon both go up and reach for the latte, and our hands touch, and we're like, oh my god, is this real? It is real. We form this bond and ride each other all night.
I think my meet cute would involve me sitting in my house, not in a house, in an apartment, just having a normal casual day, and then I just keep hearing thumping noises from upstairs. There's all this crashing, there's all of these sounds. I go up to yell at my neighbor, and then this beautiful dragon opens the door, and I'm speechless.
Oh,
that's adorable.
It's adorable.
And then I guess me and the dragon fuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That seems to be where you want this story to go.
Yikes. All right. Number 2. We had a lot of amazing sound design. So you're going to have to work on your own sound design with your vocal and anything else you can come up with. All right. So we're going to go back and forth because I came up with a bunch of scenarios. And you're going to give me your best dragon impression or noise for the scenario.
Okay.
For fuck's sake. Okay.
Here we go. Ben, your board game night was just canceled.
Jesus Christ.
Don't you love this?
No.
It's a great start.
You just ate the best ice cream sundae of your life. I love you guys. This is the only reason I did it for Connor, because I knew Connor would be into it.
I mean, into it and game are like different.
Ben, your brother just told you he masturbated in your room. All right, Connor, you were stuck in an escape room with a Dr. Seuss theme.
I don't know. How do you make dragon noises rhyme?
Ben, you got socks again for Christmas.
I mean, I fucking love socks. So
there it is. That's the dragon.
That's it. That's the answer. The dragon just speaks for the first time. I fucking love socks.
Connor, you're trying to decide where to eat for dinner with your partner. Ben.
6 is enough. Come on.
No, please. I'm gonna end with this one, okay? Ben, your daughter just made a sick burn at your expense. I'm pretty sure that was the same as the first one.
No, that one had pride behind it. I'm proud of her.
I love how a lot of Ben sounded like Scooby-Doo in various colonoscopy phases.
Oh, this was so fun for me. I'm so glad that I got to do this. Last one, in honor of no highway option, number 3. Please insert Vin Diesel into this movie to make it even better.
Well, so now this franchise is owned by Universal.
Oh my God. Do it.
So there can be not Dom Toretto himself, but an ancient Toretto bloodline family member. You've got the twins, Rough Nut and Tough Nut, but what about Lug Nut?
Yes.
He pimps out dragon saddles and, like, you know, puts flames on them and stuff. And he's played by Vin Diesel.
I love it.
I think we add another one of his friends, Hiccup's friends, and it's a live action, non-animated Vin Diesel. And his matching dragon is also a live action, non-animated Vin Diesel. And it's just Vin Diesel riding a Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel's just putting one arm out to the top of his bald head.
That's right.
Just to calm him down.
Are they the same size?
Yeah, they are. They're no different. Yeah.
Does one have wings?
No. He just flaps his arms.
Piggyback ride style?
Yeah.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
Well, before we go today, we are going to play a game, and this week's game is called How to Train Your Dragon, fittingly. So Emily and Connor are both going to play.
Shall we play a game?
I despise guessing games.
This great game. Makes you think and it helps your memory.
Let the games begin.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of you a stable of dragons from pop culture. And you need to tell me how you would get each dragon to obey you. How are you going to train this dragon? Or what are you going to train this dragon to do? You can be either way. There are no right or wrong answers. We're just going to be creative. And we're going to go all of Emily's followed by all of Connor's. So here's Emily's stable of dragons. Emily, Smog.
Definitely would just use Sauron's ring because it's gold and Smog is obsessed with gold, but I'd also use it to make myself invisible and climb onto him and then
there you go.
Freak him out. So I'd use it to help me.
Perfect. Okay, next one, the Reluctant Dragon.
Is this from Puff the Magic Dragon?
It's a Disney movie that was a behind the scenes documentary, and then at the end they're like, by the way, here's a cartoon about a dragon who doesn't want to fight.
Okay. I would take the Reluctant Dragon to dinner and we'd have a really nice conversation.
Oh, he'd like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What would you take, what dinner would you take him to?
We'd go to a barbecue place.
Good choice. Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
He is vegan, though. So
are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm just fucking with you. Okay.
No one was vegan in the 40s.
No. Okay, next one, the Hungarian Horntail from Harry Potter.
Oh, we would just bond over me being Hungarian. I would speak Hungarian to it.
Okay. How about Elliot from Pete's Dragon, the 60s version?
I was about to ask, isn't his name Pete?
No, Pete owns the dragon. It's Pete's dragon. His name's Elliot.
You're right. Right. I think I'd get E.T. to help me out with this.
Yeah. Because Elliot.
E.T. and Elliot go hand in hand.
How about Dragon from Shrek?
I would put on some ears in the shape of donkey ears and hang out, I guess.
Okay.
I feel like that one's not going to work.
Just hang out?
Just hang out. We wouldn't fuck for sure.
Darn.
Probably not.
Well, who knows? One thing leads to another.
Right.
You're doing it donkey style.
I guess.
Everyone gets one I might fuck this dragon answer.
Yep. Connor, here's your stable of dragons. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Dracarys from Game of Thrones.
I would. Well, in order to train him, I'd have to humble him, so I'd just pull up some tweets from the season 8 finale and be like, "Come on, man, you got. If you roll with me, then your cred's gonna go back up a little bit."
Perfect. How about Dragonite from Pokemon?
Oh well,
a wild Dragonite approaches.
I don't remember. I've been playing the new one and I don't remember the type advantages, so I don't know who to send out against him. I guess I would use a Dragonite to... He wouldn't even be, I wouldn't train him to fly around because he's got, those stubby little wings.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'd train him to be, kind of just like a house pet.
Yeah.
Kind of just to hang out. Maybe if he wants to go out and get the paper for me, classic old timey dog would, give him my slippers or something.
I love it. How about Trogdor?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Trogdor the Burninator.
The one way to train Trogdor is to pull out a pencil and be like, I can draw you a second beefy arm.
There you go. Okay, Ord from Dragon Tales.
Is that the blue one or the old one?
That's the That's the blue one.
Okay.
The really stupid one?
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be easy to train him if you just I feel like he'd just listen to you.
He's very polite.
To train him, all you have to do is ask.
Yeah, it's that Christian upbringing.
Yeah. But I'd train him to be my personal Uber. He's the one that can fly.
No, you said Uber, not Luber, right?
That's
yeah,
what
Uber,
I thought you
Uber.
said.
Okay,
I thought you heard Luber.
Personal Uber.
Okay.
That's why I made that noise. Oh,
I know. I saw it in your face.
I was like, I wasn't being that mean, was I?
Last one, Mushu from Mulan.
I'd train him by buttering him up and complimenting him constantly, because that's what he seems to want. And I would train him just to recite Eddie Murphy's Delirious to me on command.
Absolutely.
Just if I wanted to laugh.
Yeah. Which who doesn't in these times?
Yeah. That, or just train him to be great at karaoke, but only for party all the time.
Emily does not know enough about Eddie Murphy to find any of this funny.
I don't. I'm very confused.
It's okay.
Eddie Murphy, he released a song in the 80s.
Well, Connor, thank you so much for joining us today. Before you go, please, just why don't you plug your podcast?
Absolutely. So we'll be coming back soon. We're No Highway Option. We compare every movie ever made to Vin Diesel's The Pacifier. We've had a lot of great guests on. We've had Ben on multiple times. Hopefully we can get Ben and Emily on in the future. And you can follow us anywhere at No Highway Pod.
Awesome. And Connor, again, thank you so much for joining us. Love having you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being on.
Next week, we'll be watching Buried and having on movie critic Simon Thompson, who is currently doing film reviews for Forbes. And I recently saw a quote from one of his reviews that was used to advertise Uncharted. So that's pretty cool. Like in the commercial for it. Yeah. So, wow. But neither of us have seen this movie, Emily and I. But I do know it has Ryan Reynolds, so it should just be a laugh riot. Connor, do you know anything about Buried?
That was one of those movies as it was coming out. Like, it was an indie darling, I think. So I definitely was like following it and being like, what is this thing? And yeah, it should be just a barrel of giggles.
Good. Awesome. Glad to hear it.
All right. Well, we're super happy to have everyone listen to our show with our wonderful Connor. But if you could all please, again, like and share our podcast with a couple of friends. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at IDYP_podcast, or email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. And before we go, Connor, in your best Dragon Day Lewis impression, can you end the episode by saying, I drink your podcast, I drink it up?
Oh, man. I was going to go straight into Jay Baruchel, but is that acceptable?
I don't care.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Spot on.
Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.